has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
And we are back. Hour number 3. Ferrall, coast to coast, here with you on a Wednesday. Carver High and the Prime Minister, Cam Stewart, in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody aboard here. Of course, Joe's usually with me out on assignment today. Joe will be with me tonight. Carver and Lisi, 8 p.m. East on SportsGrid Radio. We're looking forward to it, but I have Cam with me here for the final hour. Now, Cam, I've done a lot of golf today. I got Keith Stewart coming up next. We'll get his picks. But I did have one thing that I never got to with you, and then we'll move on into the college basketball. Yeah, I didn't hear your thoughts on Anthony Kim coming out from under the rock and playing in the Live Tour this weekend. Are you interested in seeing that? I mean,
no.
Have you completely forgotten about Anthony Kim? Was it surprising to you that he's playing?
I got to be honest with you, Carver. Anthony Kim was supposed to be the next Tiger Woods for people that know in the know of golf. Like, this guy was a phenom, right? And we haven't. I got to be honest with you. I forgot about Anthony Kim. I don't know where he's been. I don't know what he's been doing. But I got to be honest. It's not a story that really moves the needle. But he's going to Live Golf. He's 150-1 this week. I love what you said. Under a rock. That's the whole thing. I know he kind of cryptically said, "Hey, there's a story to this," or I'll tell you the whole story later on. Okay, I guess. I'm not betting him at 151. I can tell you that. I wish him the best, though, because he seemed like a good kid.
People aren't, like you said, when I saw that in the clip where he was like, I'm not ready to tell the story yet, or I'll eventually tell us. This isn't, people aren't, banging down the door for the story. I think it's cool he's playing again. And here's the other thing with them. And look, they gave him a lot of money and he's going to play. That's all fine and good, Cam. But they have him playing in the tournament that for the people that want to see Anthony Kim, I mean, they're teeing off at 3:30 in the morning East Coast time. They're playing in Saudi Arabia this weekend. You're not exact. You needed him to start, in Vegas 2 weeks ago or wherever they were. Why is his first tournament? And I'm sure maybe it's just the way it worked out. But you have to go and watch on that app that they have after when you wake up in the morning, because he'll be playing at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Also, Carver, so people won't see him if he embarrasses himself. It's better to do it in Saudi Arabia than on American soil. That's another thing. I suppose that's possible as well, Cam. He's 150-1, by the way. If you'd like to run to the window for Anthony Kim in Saudi Arabia, we do welcome in all of our radio affiliates for Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM. Channel 159, Sports Byline. Great to have you with us. All right, I got a lot of college basketball tonight, Cam. I got tons of games that we have to go through, but I have to give you one highlight from last night because I thought this game was awesome, and that was the Kentucky-Mississippi State game, which went back and forth. Kentucky was dogs on the road, of course. You had the unranked team favored over the ranked team, which is usually a pretty good play. First, this is a long sequence here. This kid on Mississippi State makes an absolutely ridiculous three to tie the game, but Reed Sheppard left with enough time to win it for Kentucky on ESPN.
So he's got it.
He did.
And he will shoot it.
And he did.
And he buried it to tie it. 7-3 of the night. Chance for Kentucky. Sheppard got it! He hits it!
How about that? That was, Cam, I said this to Coach earlier. That was a hell of a game, that Kentucky-Mississippi State game. It was a hell of a game.
Very similar like the Washington State-Arizona, like where the Washington State, they won on a 4-point play, but Arizona didn't hit, but Kentucky did. Very scary team. Gabe and I talked about it. Come tournament time, if they get a good draw, Kentucky could be a handful for people. Mississippi State's no slouch. They're a good basketball team.
No slouch at all. Kentucky's numbers now at 22-1, by the way, went down obviously after the win last night. We'll see, but they'll probably lose one more game that they shouldn't lose, which will get that number back around 30. So you could probably just wait, Cam, for that to happen if you really want to back Kentucky. But everybody is. I think they have the highest percentage of tickets and money and everything else at all the books. One other thing, I had the team total under for Cincinnati last night at 59.5 against Houston. Cam, you talk about an unnecessary sweat.
Yeah.
Cincinnati had 18 points at the half. And I'm sitting there. They had 18 points at the half, and they scored 41 in the second half. And I had to sit there and sweat down to every play, every second. But, Cam, when you win, you feel good about talking about it the next day.
Exactly.
You care about the sweat, the win. Under 59.5 a winner for the team total. And bad job by Kansas at home last night. They got blitzed in the second half by BYU. Yeah,
they got issues.
BYU, Cam.
They got
Kansas has issues.
Good,
I agree.
Too. Oh, Kansas, these guys, they beat teams at home, then they lose on the road. Like, Kansas is not the team they should be. As for BYU, this is the best Cougar team we've ever seen, Carver. Like, these guys are good.
Yep. And this is better than the Jimmer teams. I know those Jimmer Fredette teams. Yep. That was a one-man team when Jimmer Fredette was at BYU. This is a good team, and this is not your vintage Kansas team, as Cam was just saying. Don't go looking to back Kansas in 2 weeks, 3 weeks when this tournament starts, because they will lose to a really good team in the first weekend or in the Sweet 16. They're not a Final Four team this year. That's all that matters there. Let's start the college, Cam, and we'll finish it after I talk to Keith. I'll give you the first rack here. Missouri is in Gainesville tonight against Florida. A bit of a fat number here for the Gators right now, as this has now moved up to 12.5. You've got VCU laying a big number at home against Rhode Island. Game of the night, Tennessee minus 7.5 against Auburn. Providence getting 11.5 at Marquette. They beat them at home a couple months ago. And Duke laying 20.5 at home against Louisville tonight, Cam.
Carver, this is Chalk City. The smallest spread we got is 7.5. I kind of like the over in that Auburn-Tennessee game. And you know what? And I love Marquette. They're one of my future picks. But I got to take Providence at plus 11.5 in that spot. That's too many points for me.
That number's too big. That's my favorite out of that whole board right there, Cam. Give me and listen, I think it was 9.5, 10.5 last night, so it's gone up.
Yep.
But 11.5 with Providence. They've beaten them this year. They've got the bigs down low. I think they'll be able to slow that game down and stay within that number. And I know Louisville sucks, Cam, but, man, that's 20.5 is a big number. I know Duke's 20.5 is a big number, dude. That's tough. Same with Florida. That might be a little too much for Florida also, 13 against Missouri. That could be a little bit too much. Missouri
been a lot
stinks,
better.
But they could score a little. That's the one thing.
Florida, it's too many points. I know the Gators, they were absolutely brutal at the start. But you know what, Carver? Too many points for me. These double-digit dogs are barking. I got to tell you, I'm with you on that one. Providence is my favorite as well.
And look, I can't play the Auburn-Tennessee game because I can't stand Tennessee. So I don't want to play them. And I just can't. I don't like Rick Barnes. I'll never back Tennessee. And I don't think it's a great spot for Auburn. I don't want to take the points with Auburn, but I certainly don't want to trust Tennessee either. Cam, later on, we'll do the rest of these games. We've got other good ones, including South Carolina's at Texas A&M tonight. St. John's and Butler playing a big game in the Big East. We have some late-night Pac-12 rivalry games, Arizona State, Oregon. And we've got the hockey later as well. But we will do more golf with Keith Stewart. Read the line. The Cognizant down at PGA National. We'll get Keith's picks next here on The Grid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back from coast to coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty, SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us, of course. Golf Wednesdays on C2C cannot be completed without talking to our man Keith Stewart from Read the Line. Of course, Keith is with us every week, giving us his plays for the PGA Tour this week. And as we discussed earlier, we are heading to Florida, the Florida Swing, now the Cognizant Classic. No more Honda as we go to PGA National. And Keith, good to see you as always. A very tough track as usual to start the Florida Swing. You're talking about 15 holes that have water in play. You have got usually some wind action that shows up at some point throughout the weekend. We've seen crazy swings here the last few years. Great playoff between Cole and Kirk. You had Berger blow a lead 2 years ago. Lowry blow it on 17 in that same tournament. So a lot of fun at this course. I always love it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've got some good news for you about a tough track this year. And good afternoon there, Carver. The weather in Southeast Florida has been really bad this winter. They've gotten a ton of rain. So I'm not just saying that the golf course is going to play softer than usual, but they haven't seen the sun in like 2 months down there. They've had 10 inches of rain. It's going to thin out the rough there. That ryegrass overseed hasn't really been taking. All reports I'm getting from down there, boots on the ground, are telling me the tournament organizers wish it was thicker, wish it was more lush. I was there last year, and it was dense. It was wall to wall. I think that the guys are going to take a little more advantage of this place from a length perspective because the rough around the greens and on the sides of those fairways and the greens being a little more receptive isn't going to make it as difficult. Average score is 9 under par here, wins. You go 10 under par, you win 7 in the last 10 years. I think we're going to have it a little bit lower this year.
And they also have the one par 4 that they converted into the 5. So now you're playing with a par 71 as well, so you have another stroke at that. And I think the biggest thing here this week before we get to your plays and your outrights is, you usually don't have the big stars at this event. And maybe Honda, if they would have known that Rory was going to show up this year, maybe they wouldn't have gotten out so fast. But Rory wanted to change the schedule a little bit this year, play a little bit more before the Masters. And they must love this at PGA National. They got Rory in the house this week as a heavy, heavy chalk favorite.
It never hurts to get Rory there, number 2 player in the world. He didn't look great at the match the other night, though, against Max and Rose and Lexi, but it is Rory. He gives everybody a little hope, tons of hype, and I don't know about that 8, versus the other guys are up in the 20s, but hey, hey, we say that all the time. I don't know that there's any edge there, but Rory is at a point right now. He's very good next week at Bay Hill. He's very good at players. If Rory has one goal in life right now, it's to win the Masters. So he's going to be working on things this week. I'm looking past him. I'm looking deeper into the board.
I think he had a quote at the press conference this morning, Keith, that I saw where he said, I feel like I could play 10 more years, but if I got that green jacket, I could go home tomorrow. So you're right. That is all that is on his mind as he's a few weeks away from Augusta. Let us know who you have got. Again, I love when we're reading the same mail, including seeing that you think the postman maybe can deliver for us out here this weekend.
Well, okay, let's start right there with JT. I mean, here's the thing. He has played great. You and I keep playing him out west. He's got a 5th, a 6th, an 11th. He did have a miscut in there. He comes back with a 10th. But why hasn't he crossed the finish line? Because the agronomy, right? Out west, some guys, they're just not great on POA. JT has won on Bermuda grass. We are on Bermuda grass carpet for the next couple of weeks. He is going to be way more comfortable. That little edge that he needs to get over the finish line, for me, is why JT is at the top of my card, along with the Georgia Bulldog, Russell Henley. He's striking the ball great out west. He needs a change of pace when it comes to the grass. You're going to see a trend throughout my whole card of guys that can really putt Bermuda and have shown, the ability to kind of flash when it comes to Florida.
No doubt. And you still have Tom Hoagie on here at 60-1. You've got Griffin in there at $110 as well. Last week was the first time, I guess that was the lowest price we've had all year, right? With Knapp winning in Mexico. So bombs have still been kind of prevalent here so we need to keep a couple of longer shots on the card every week.
No doubt about it. And I love Ben Griffin. I mean, 2 of his last 3 starts on Bermuda grass one's been a runner-up, one's been in 8th place. So I love him at that number. He was T21 there last year. And then as far as Hoagie goes, I'm tired of all this talk where everyone's like, oh, Hoagie, all he does is miss the cut there. That was years ago. Tom Hoagie's a different player right now, and he's definitely a different player at what I saw on the West Coast. This guy's hitting it really, really good. And he's played well in Florida before. He's had some great finishes at the Players. I think that Tom Hoagie, the way he flushes the golf, I mean, who's going to score on these par 3s? The number one approach bucket here is 175 to 200 yards. He leads the field. He leads the field in approach, period. How is this guy not on your card to do something? Come on. I mean, and he's won before.
I agree. I think he's a must-add, and even if you want to go for 10s and 20s with him, we got no problem there, that's for sure. Let's get to your placements, and the lead guy I want to talk about with you there on your card is, of course, Eric Cole, because it seems to me, Keith, that this is going to be the most played guy, it feels like, everywhere that I'm looking, whether it's pools, whether it's outrights. Everybody loves Eric Cole this week, and rightfully so. Played great here last year, losing in the playoff to Chris Kirk.
I mean, he's your one-and-done pick. 8 of his last 12 starts are in the top 20. I mean, that's only bested by JT Poston, who has, I think, 10 of his last 15 starts are a top 20. So both of those guys are on my card in that top 20 zone. I really think Russell's going to have another top 10 there for the 3rd year in a row. And then you get a little further down the card. Nobody ever wants to lay money on a placement. But you know what? Everybody loves to win money on a placement. Everybody's talking about CBZ. Right? We've got to get Christian Bezadenhut in there somehow. He may have by tomorrow morning, he may end up on my outright card, or he might be a great live ad. I mean, he's a fantastic ball striker, like a Hoagie. You're hearing guys' names like Adam Svensson or whatever, but CBZ can really putt. So I love him. I got Hoagie there again and Ben Griffin because, Griffin last year in Florida, when he went Honda, API Players, he gained an average strokes gained total of 5.5 per event. This was his best stretch of the year, and it's because of the agronomy and because the kid keeps the ball in play. I feel really good about this placement card, and I'm so happy we're no longer on the West Coast and Pacific time. I'm done with it. It's time to change the clocks and it's time to change our luck.
I agree with you on that, and I gave everybody the note earlier. Whether you're in one-and-done pools or even to get your plays in, you don't have that buffer in the morning now with being out of the West Coast. This is a 6:45 a.m. East tee-off, so make sure you get all your action in tonight before you put the head on the pillow, because they're going to be going when you wake up tomorrow morning down there at PJ National. All right, what do you got for the head-to-heads?
Okay, I've got on over Im. Im really struggled on the West Coast. I was out there. I saw it week after week. He lost strokes in every major category at Riviera. Ben On, he gained over 7 total strokes at Riviera. So I like him trending into there. I know people love him at Honda, but you know what? I think this is just based on recency bias. I think that's the play. And then I've got Hoagie over List. Hoagie for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, and List. A lot of people aren't talking about this. They all love his ball striking, but you've got to have that balance of bogey avoidance and birdie or better here. And guess what? In his last 7 events, Luke List has lost strokes around the green. How's he going to get up and down? This place is tough. And I'm telling you right now, I think I love those 2 head-to-heads.
And watch the lives on Saturday and Sunday morning. Oh, yeah. Big swings at this place as we get down into the final round. Keith, tremendous job as always. Next week, you'll be down there. Orlando, Bay Hill, Arnie. I love it. I'll see you then, Keith. Thank you as always.
Can't wait for the sunshine.
Keith Stewart, read the line. We're back on the grid right after this.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. All right, Cam, let's go here. We got the rest of the college basketball. We started with some of the early tips earlier this hour. I've got more for you, including Northwestern heading to Maryland tonight in Big Ten action. We have Maryland, of course, favored at home in that one. That's at 5.5 now. DePaul is at Xavier tonight. DePaul is pathetic. Xavier's laying 19.5. Iowa State's 9.5-point favorite at home against Oklahoma. We've got Colorado laying 11.5 against Cal. And Oklahoma State minus 2.5 against UCF. You know, UCF's one of those teams, Cam. They can surprise you. They can sneak up on you some nights. And they've got some wins in the Big 12 this year. I kind of like them on the road tonight in Stillwater. They've been a lot better at home than on the road, UCF. But I kind of like them tonight against not a very good Cowboy team.
I agree with you. I think the line tells you everything you need to know. I think Central Florida is live, Carver. All out of the other games, I don't know. Like DePaul, when I watch DePaul play now, I'm like, what the hell happened? I just don't understand. It's like, it's one of those programs you think being in Chicago, whatever, it is at the bottom of the barrel, man. I don't know. 19.5-point dogs can't even do it. On that board, yeah, Central Florida is my favorite play on that board, Carver. Iowa State should be able to take care of business against Oklahoma. Great home team.
I kind of like Maryland as well at home tonight against Northwestern. If I wanted to go there, it's come down a little bit, so I'm in it. And I said this to Ferrall the other day, Cam. John Wooden could come back from the dead, and he couldn't turn DePaul around. That's how bad DePaul is. They have been so bad for so long. There's nobody that's coming in and is going to fix that problem, that's for sure. South Carolina down to College Station tonight, Texas A&M. This is one of ours. We always love these, Cam. The system plays. You have the unranked team favored over the ranked team at home. Now, it didn't go very good last night for Mississippi State. They lost. I'll go back to it tonight. Even though it's a heavy number, I'm going to lay the 5.5 with Texas A&M. Basically an elimination game between St. John's and Butler tonight in the Big East with the 1.5. Creighton laying 8.5 at home against Seton Hall, and Minnesota, who is the best team against the spread in college basketball this year. They are number one in the country. I believe they're 22-4, 23-4 against the number. Well, they're getting a big number tonight, Cam, in Illinois, 11.5.
Well, you saw what happened last game. Everybody jumped on Minnesota when they find out that ATS trend. Nebraska took them out to the woodshed on Sunday. It was an absolute debacle. As for Seton Hall, I was hoping Ciano had some inside information for us there. He being a Seton Hall grad, I don't want to lay 8.5 with Creighton in a bounce-back spot. I'm with you. I think Texas A&M takes care of business. Carver, South Carolina, not the same team. They went on a little bit of a run, and they've come back down to earth a little bit. And Butler, St. John's, do we fade St. John's after their big win over the weekend? I'm thinking about doing it at minus 1.5 with Butler.
You know, it's like me and Coach were talking about this before. I mean, the loser of this game is basically going to be out. Like, in terms of, you got so many of these teams in the Big East on the bubble right now. And this is big for St. John's. They're 16-12 right now. They finish next week with their last two league games are DePaul and Georgetown. So if they could ever win this game, they could finish on a little bit of a run heading into the Big East tournament and maybe be able to sneak themselves in. I like St. John's tonight, Cam. I think that they've turned the corner since Pitino laid them out a few weeks ago. And they're 2-0 since then. I'm going to stick with them tonight here in this spot. Next, the late night tips. Bama visiting Ole Miss. And what I love about this game is, Cam, how about 166.5 for the total? I mean, that thing, you can't make it high enough. Boston College is 1.5-point favorite over Virginia. That's a little fishy. Arizona laying 11.5 on the road against their rival Arizona State. And the Ducks, quack, 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 splashing around with the Beavers tonight, 13.5 in Eugene. We always love when the Ducks and the Beavers splashing around, this time in Eugene, not in Corvallis, Cam.
I love Beavers, Ducks. Yeah, good times. This is an interesting game. 13.5 seems like a lot of points. Carver, this could be like trappish. I don't know what the deal is. I know Arizona's a good basketball team, but do you really trust them? I'm looking at these spreads going, no, I do not trust you guys on the road to win by 12 or more against your rival. I'll take a shot with Boston College against Virginia. I know that's kind of a weird situation, but Virginia, I don't trust them on the road either. What have we learned about college basketball? We want these home teams. Alabama and Ole Miss, that's a tough game. That's a very, very tough game. Lean to Alabama there.
I think it's an over, Cam.
You like 166.5 over?
When they make it that high, they can't make it high enough. For me, I just go after it. Let's fly, man. Let's just let it go tonight with that one. And I lean to Ole Miss as well, getting the points at home in that game against Alabama. They're the more desperate team right now in terms of where they are, in terms of the bubble, the seeding, etc. I'm going to go with Ole Miss in that. So there you go. College basketball.
Virginia? What do you think about Virginia and Boston College, though? That total? 127.5. I know they have that, Virginia game's under. I'm not sure. I don't know, man. That's pretty light. But
see, it feels it's the same thing, Cam, really every night with these Virginia games. If Virginia's going to win that game, it's probably a dead under, and it's 57-50, and it'll go way under that total. And if Boston College wins, the game's in the 60s. And it's probably going to sail through that number that you have there. So I think it's kind of correlates to whoever you like in the game. I think the line says Boston College with where it's at right now. Virginia's a better team, and BC being the short favorite at home feels to me, Cam, like that's the side there. I'd rather play the side than the total if I was going to get involved in BC and Virginia tonight. There you go. College Rack. Tons of great games for you on a Wednesday night. How about hockey now, yes. Cam, for you? Everybody loves hockey, as we always say. We talked earlier about some in-game stuff, and obviously you and Gabe do it at night, and me and Joe do it on the radio, and we're always looking for in-game. The Leafs and the Knights last night were scoreless. With 10 minutes left in the second period. They were halfway through the game. And Cam, they hung a 3.5 up on the board, and I had to go and grab that over 3.5. It was half the game left, and sure enough, I didn't know you had the under. I mean, they even sailed through the pregame with 8 goals the rest of the way. Crazy game.
I got to tell you, Carver, there were a couple of games like I did take the over 3.5 as well when it was posted, but not for nearly enough. And I got to remember, like sometimes I got to really bail out fully. That Philadelphia Tampa Bay game, that was unbelievable as well. I was doing in-game live with Sherapan there. I'm on the under there, and that game somehow turned 5-2. I can't lie to you. I got murdered with totals last night in hockey. Gabe and I were on the Vancouver under 2, 3-3. Penguins win 4-3. Unders were my demise last night. It was just one of those situations. I hit the over in the Devils game, but man, that was kind of crazy.
I saw you had the Sharks in the first period, right, Cam? Did you have the Sharks in the first period last night?
I did have the Sharks in the first period. Then things went sideways, and a converted touchdown for the Jets. Yes, extra point.
It's funny,
good.
like the Sharks scored the first goal of the game, and they scored the last goal of the game.
Yes.
Problem is they let up a touchdown in between the first and the last goal of the game. So 7-2.
Got hurt, Carver. They were leading at the first period, but Blackwood got hurt. Kakkonen came in, and it was Kakkonen. I'll tell you that.
No good there. That's for sure. All right. I do have I wanted to do some of this because you're here today, and we have some hockey for you in terms of futures odds. Here's the Eastern Conference right now today at BetMGM. Panthers at 4-1 are the favorite. Then the Bruins, Hurricanes, Rangers, Leafs are 7. Then the Lightning, Devils, Penguins. Everyone else 30 or more. I think it was either me and it might have been me and Gabe yesterday talking about this, Cam. I don't like backing either of the teams that went to the Stanley Cup final the year before. I think it's very difficult to get all the way back to that point. You had Florida with this great run through the East last year. I feel like the East this year, you're going to get one of these chalk heavies, whether it's Boston or the Rangers. I feel like this is a year where one of those teams is going to come out of the East, and the Cinderella stories aren't going to happen in the Eastern Conference this year.
I got to be honest with you, Carver. Boston, to me, I have a different opinion of the Bruins and other people. I don't think they're as good as people think. I think they got good goaltending with Swayman. I don't think they're deep enough, and I think they're done in the playoffs. The Panthers are tough, but I don't want to bet them at 4. I think Seattle's Rangers are the play. If I'm going to take a chalk team, Shesterkin hasn't even played his best hockey. I think the Rangers are built very tough. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. Their goaltending, as crazy as this sounds, the Leafs at 7, no one's even giving them a chance. Like, I'm a fan. They usually gag, but that price is pretty nice, actually. Remember, their goaltender, Wall, is out. They've been playing Samsonov and Jones and all, you know what I mean? So if this kid comes back and he's actually healthy, it could be interesting. But I like the Rangers at plus 475.
I could see the Bruins losing like last year. They got blitzed by a younger, faster Florida team out of nowhere in that first round. Like, who I could see doing that to them this year? Like, I could see the Red Wings doing that to Boston in the first round. Like, they play a team like Detroit. I could see them going in there and really taking that fast-paced up and down style to Boston, and they don't like that. That's going to be the tricky team, Cam, to watch in the East. If they get one of those wild card spots, they're going to give one of those teams a very tough time. On the West side of things, the Oilers are the favorite. We were chatting about this, I think, even off the air. Like, I would never bet on the Oilers. I'm stunned that the Oilers are favorites for anything. Eastern Conference, Stanley Cup, they never win when it matters. Avalanche, I think the Avalanche, the Stars, the Jets, Vegas, I think all those teams would beat Edmonton in a 7-game series in the playoffs. All of them.
I just don't understand the number, and God bless them. If they get it done, that's Edmonton. You can't bet them at that price. It's a bad price for Edmonton, and what have they done? They've never won in the playoffs before. The Avalanche are still the Avalanche. I love them, and the Stars at 5-1. Yes.
We'll come back with more Coast to Coast on the Grid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. All right, we're doing some hockey. Actually, before we get there, I got to tell you that BetMGM's doing it again. They're giving away free money. How about betting $5 and getting $150 back instantly? Are you kidding me? What do we have to do here? How about downloading the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visiting BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. This is for new customers. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. Win or lose, you got to use bonus code SG150, SG150. BetMGM, giving away free money. Bet 5, get $150. We love that here on Coast to Coast. All right, Cam, I still have a couple of things. We kind of got chopped off there. Before I move on to the next thing, I gave you those Western Conference odds, and let's just spend a minute on it here. I get why the Oilers are favored. They've been playing great since they fired Woodcroft. They have Connor McDavid. But they don't have a goalie who's any good. They don't have defense, and those are the things that win in the playoffs. And even a couple years ago, Cam, they made it to the conference finals. But when they play a complete team, a team like Colorado, they're not beating a team like that. They're just not. And Dallas is a complete team. I feel like Winnipeg could beat them. I feel, who else did I say? Vegas, who's the defending Cup champs, could beat them. I think they could beat Vancouver. Vancouver would be a crazy series if they played them, because Vancouver's got a lot of, this is kind of going to be their first year on the block. They're smashing everyone in the regular season. That usually doesn't translate, Cam, to the playoffs. When a team out of nowhere smashes everyone in the regular season, they usually go out quickly. But I can't get behind the Oilers whatsoever.
Here's the deal, Carver. I was just thinking about this too. The Kings are 7-1. They're without Stone and Eichel, who will be back for the playoffs because of those crazy rules with the salary cap. You got the long-term injury. These guys come back. Aiden Hill, I saw them play against the Leafs. They beat them without their team. They're missing 2 stars. Vegas is 7-1. You're almost getting double the value that in comparison to the Oilers. So, yeah, if you want to bet a couple teams in the West, I think you can. You just put a line through Edmonton and, Stars at 5 and the Golden Knights at 7. I like the Jets as well. And the one issue is, can they score enough? But Hellebuck can steal games. That's the thing. I'd rather have them as well. So you bring up a really good point. I literally would have the second, third. Hell, I'd rather have the Canucks at plus 550. What I'm telling you basically is I don't want the Oilers. And I like a lot of other teams there. And I think the Golden Knights at 7 offer value.
I do too. I'm with you 100%, Cam. All right, these are the teams that have been sending the people to the window the most this year. In terms of units, obviously, NHL is a lot different, Cam, in terms of money line than some of these other sports. But the Blues, plus 9.2 units, have been the best money line team so far this year. Red Wings, Canucks, Panthers, and Jets among the worst. The Blackhawks, minus 16.7 units. Then Arizona, the Islanders, who have been pathetic despite that win in Dallas the other night. The Blue Jackets and the Senators, those have been your worst teams at the window.
It's funny, Carver. I've been betting the Red Wings a lot this year, and that's been good. And I still sometimes bet the Senators, which is very bad. I got to get off this team. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them, but every year I think they're going to get better. They just suck. Actually, their goaltending, you want to talk about bad goaltending? Go to Ottawa. They got the worst tandem in the league. These guys are just a train wreck. For Arizona,
they're awful. Awful.
Oh, Carver, can you believe Arizona, too? They're favored against Montreal. I know Montreal's awful, but Arizona, ever since they got that news about hey, we need to, what's happening with the arena. And the minute that announcement was made, this team kind of folded shop. It's they had a good little thing going on at the Mullet for a while. Now reality's sunk in Coyotes. You're going nowhere fast. And the Blackhawks are money burners. I know Connor Bedard is the future, but this team, they're an unbettable hockey team.
And the other thing I got for you is the best over and under teams. You were just talking about getting hammered with the totals last night around the league. The Avalanche, Canucks, Coyotes, Devils, Islanders, and Senators, the best teams to the over. As far as the under goes, Florida, Buffalo, Chicago, LA, Pittsburgh, and Winnipeg on the under side of things, Cam.
Don't you find that interesting, Carver, when I'm looking at the unders? The Sabres are 36-23 to the under.
Yeah.
And people talk about the goaltending. Like, I bet overs in their games. I'm like, wow, why is it these Sabres games always 6? They never get the 6.5. You know what I mean? Like, they just stay under the number. The Kings, you can understand that. The Blackhawks can't score. As for overs, the Avalanche have firepower. And the Vancouver Canucks, I was on the under in their game last night. That was kind of a stooge play. But, Gabe and I were both on 6.5, and it looked pretty good. And then Pittsburgh tied it up, and we were toast when it went to overtime. But, I can understand that. I'm surprised, actually, that the Islanders are on the over list. But then again, Carver, your Islanders, they put them at 5.5 and 6. Right?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And you're right. They have a lot of 5.5s and 6s, but this is not the same Islander team from 2, 3, 4 years ago. This is not the Barry Trotz Islanders 2-3-1 games. They don't play that way anymore, Cam. They're playing track meets now, to be quite honest with you. They give up more goals. For them. Their penalty kill is pathetic. It is the worst in the NHL since January 1st or since all year, whatever it is. They can't stop anyone when they're on the power play. So that's why the Islanders, you see them up there on the over list. We only have 2 games tonight in the league. First, Columbus is at the Garden against the Rangers. Now, the Rangers had a 10-game winning streak, Cam. That got snapped on Sunday in Columbus, the worst team in the Eastern Conference. So, revenge spot here as we change venues, but some heavy lumber. Minus 250 for the Rangers, plus 2 Bills for Columbus. 6.5 is the total. I usually, Cam, will only lay the puck line, lay the goal and a half if I'm getting some sort of plus money. That's just a rule of me. I don't want to lay juice if I'm laying the puck line too. I might make an exception here tonight because I think the Rangers are going to absolutely smash Columbus at the Garden.
I'm with you. Revenge spot. Columbus beat them 4-2 on Sunday. That snapped the streak. I'm going to take the Rangers in the first period, Carver, and I told you I don't want to lay $1.90, so -0.5 plus 115 in the first period is something I can sink my teeth into. Over 1.5. I'm going to attack the first periods like last night. That's the only good thing I did with the Sharks game. I won all my money in the first period, gave it all back for the game. Good work, SJ Sharkey. But I'm with you. Rangers 5, Columbus 2 tonight. Let's go. Hit the over as well.
Yeah, I think you're exactly where we want to be in that game, Cam. And a nice early start in the first period would be good, too. The other game, this is the national TV game. St. Louis is in Edmonton against those Oilers we were talking about before. Minus 300 this is at now, up to the second. The Blues are plus 240. The total 6.5. We just had that graphic up there, Cam, of the best teams on the money line this year, and the Blues were at the top of it for plus 9.6 units. And why? Because of lines like this. Look at this, plus 240 against Edmonton tonight. And I think they could win in Edmonton, Cam. People think the Blues are that great of a team. They're a little bit over 500. You can get a sleepy Oiler team tonight. I'll take a shot with the Blues at plus 240 here.
You know what? I was going to do an automatic Rangers-Oilers parlay, and the voice said, don't put the Oilers in it. Find something else, or like Rangers to the over. I'm with you, Carver. They're treating the Blues like these guys are the Arizona Coyotes or a bottom feeder in the league. They can win games. They get no respect, this team. The Blues might as well not even exist. I find that division, the Central, you look at some of their odds, like Nashville's winning games, they price them horribly as well. It's just these teams have no popularity, and they price them really poorly. You know what, Carver? You're smart. You're onto something. Like, the Oilers might blow them out of the water, but you know what? You can't lay almost 3-1 with Edmonton. That's just stupid.
Well, I'm not that smart, Cam. There's plenty of nights I don't go to the window afterwards. So there's plenty of nights, Cam, I'm not going to the window. So
I was a dope last night. I can tell you that. I'm like, why did I bet so much on hockey?
We try our best, but that's for sure. So only 2 games. Let's have some fun with them here tonight on the ice. I do have a couple things. We're almost out of time, Cam. Time flies when me and Cam are together on Coast to Coast. I did want to give you this because everybody loves Ohtani. He made his Dodger debut yesterday. He had to go long ball for all the people that paid those big prices out in Arizona to go see him at spring training. Here we go. Spectrum Sportsnet LA for Ohtani.
Here is Ohtani in what will more than likely be his final at bat today in his Dodger debut. Swung on, hit high in the air to left and deep. This ball carrying. This ball is gone. In his Dodger debut, Shohei Ohtani brings them to their feet. A 2-run home run. That's what they've been waiting for. Show me the way. Well, that is a strong man right there.
You like that, Cam? Show me the way.
Show me the way.
Show me the way. Right
I'm not
there
gonna
for
say.
JD.
Now, here's the deal, Carver. 5-0. Everyone who betted the Dodgers win total. Can we start now? You're already.
It's a lock, Cam. It's a lock. 103.5. I mean, get it now before they bump it up to 104, 105. I mean, it's definitely going to get there. But since Ohtani homered, I figured I'd give you this. Regular season home run leader. Now, there is this school of thought here, Cam, that Ohtani doesn't have to think about pitching this year. He's not going to pitch here this first year in LA. More time to focus on just hitting long balls. They're giving you 10-1 for him to have the most homers in Major League Baseball this year. Now, obviously, Judge is the favorite. We know the deal with Judge. He's made of glass. If you can guarantee me that Aaron Judge is going to play 135 or 140 games this year, then fine. He probably is going to hit the most home runs in baseball. Olsen hit a ton last year. You got Schwarbaum always in the mix. But that Ohtani 10-1 number is very enticing considering he's not going to have to worry about pitching.
You're reading my mail, Carver. I think it's an extremely great price for a team. The Dodgers are going to rack up runs. He's going to be huge. He's going to hit the long ball. Vladimir Guerrero with the arbitration with the Blue Jays, somebody to consider this year. He's kind of an all-or-nothing player right now. You're going to give me 22-1. It's something that I'll look at. He'll be at the top, but 22-1 offers a lot of value to me. You said it. If Judge plays like 125 games, that's a lock at plus 375. But nothing's a lock with this guy's injury history.
Nothing at all. And I was telling Davis earlier that I guess Yamamoto, the pitcher, made his debut for the Dodgers today. He smoked everybody. He struck out 3-6 batters he faced. He threw tons of strikes. So the Dodgers are going to be very, very tough to deal with this year, that's for sure. A couple of quick football notes, Cam. In fact, I might even give you a few even in the next segment before we leave. The Chiefs have done a lot of work today. They're going to cut Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They're going to save $12 million on the cap by doing that. It sounds like they're going to use their tag on cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. So that's the Chief word for today. The Jets are going to let Zach Wilson look for a trade. Well, how nice of them, Cam. I got a better idea. You care about the kid so much? Just release him and let him go wherever he wants. Why do you look for a trade? Who's going to trade for him? He's got no value whatsoever.
I'm going to tell you something, stupid. Carver. Yeah. I might get fired for this comment. I think he goes anywhere else. He's actually going to save his NFL career. I don't think he's bad as everyone thinks he is. I think he's a very good athlete, and he'll figure it out. He can run, man. Just tell him to use his feet. This guy's not that bad.
I said this to Morency earlier because he was getting after me about the J.J. McCarthy stuff. Sometimes with these high-pick quarterbacks, Cam, it's all about where you go, not how good you are. And you're right. Maybe going somewhere else, you can actually see the stuff that we saw, when he was coming out as a prospect. All right, Ferrall Coast to Coast will come back. Carver High, Cannon and Scotty. Wrap this puppy up right after this.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty. Great to have you with us. All right, Cam, before we get out of here, 1 or 2 other things from the NFL. Of course, everybody's down in Indy. You've got the big draft. Everybody's going to run around in shorts starting tomorrow. You had some of the players talking today. Caleb Williams was one of them. Says he'll be excited if he's drafted by the Bears or anyone else. Well, God, Cam, I hope so. You're going to be the first overall pick in the draft. You should be happy no matter where you go, because whoever that is, you're going to be the guy and you're going to make tons of money. All right, so boo-hoo if there's somewhere that he doesn't want to go. Who cares?
I'm with you. What is this? Hey, Eric Lindros, fight me. Enough of this stuff. You're a professional player. You go where you get drafted. That is life. I will go anywhere to be a professional player. Anywhere. It doesn't matter.
And on the other side of the coin from that is, of course, the Justin Fields stuff. Now, I saw this video during one of our breaks. I was going to bring it up, and then Mafia put it here. Justin Fields' manager posted a video on social media of him. He was jumping around all excited, and in the background, you could hear someone say something about him going home, which makes everybody thinks he's going to get traded to Atlanta because he's from down there, Cam. So Justin Fields maybe to Atlanta. He looked very excited in the video. He had the story last week about him following all the guys on the Falcons on social media. So maybe Justin Fields to Atlanta is something that's going to happen for us here before free agency. As we played the GM yesterday, said he's going to get rid of him.
Don't you? Look at that division too, Carver. That's a division that changes every year. You got Robinson as a running back. You got Drake London. You got Pitts. You got a young offensive line. You draft a couple other guys. Work on your defense. The Falcons are very close to being a good team. They lost a lot of heartbreakers. I love it, man. If Fields goes there, over the top.
Great job today. Great having you here with me. And let's cash some tickets down at the Cognizant this weekend, Cam. I want some more winners here with the golf. Great job by you. Great job by Keith Stewart as well. Coach Young, Davis Maddock, Gabe Morency, Mafia and the crew. Game Time Decisions is next. Scotty back tomorrow. I'll see you tonight. Carver and Lucy, SportsGrid Radio, 8 p.m. Good night, everybody. See you then.